Welcome to Coffee with Apna. I'm Dr. Ava Khetarpal, and this is where we spark quick and powerful conversations on accessibility, inclusion, and real stories shaping Asia Pacific region. So grab your coffee and let's dive in. And today we are talking to Aritra Bandyopadhyay. She's an IT expert, as I've earlier told you. So, Aritra, please tell us that in your view, what is the essential element for an inclusive workplace?
Okay, thank you for inviting me for this coffee with Apmanas. Um, Essential for an inclusive workplace is definitely accessibility.
Hmm.
Like we do ABCD, so that's the A of ABCD. So accessibility definitely comes first.
Okay.
Without accessibility, you cannot have an inclusive workplace.
Hmm.
Because unless and until you have people with disabilities easily coming to work
Mm-hmm.
and working, they you cannot build an inclusive world or an inclusive workplace, anything. So that is my take on accessibility. It is the most important thing.
Yeah, most important thing. And what are some common accessibility gaps that are present in workplaces?
Okay, so I'll give you my example. So when I rejoined Oracle in 2022, and I went to office for the first time, the first day at office, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I went in my wheelchair. So I have a self-propelling wheelchair. I don't use a motorized wheelchair because of low vision. So with
Mm-hmm.
low vision and a motorized wheelchair, I'm like a person driving without a driving license. So it's like that. That's why I use a self-propelling wheelchair so that I can gauge what is around me and stop if required. Uh, so I also had a caregiver at that point of time because I was not in a position to propel myself to that extent because of energy issues which I developed after my accident.
Mm-hmm.
So me and my caregiver, again a young girl, all in her 20s, late 20s, we went to the office and I was not able to even swipe past the swiping gate. It was so bad. I think we took around the 15 turns every
Okay.
time the door opened and closed. Because by the time the door opens, I
Mhm.
swipe and then she pushes me inside, the door closes back.
Okay.
So it was that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Then finally, and thankfully, the security came to the rescue.
Mm-hmm.
Head of security. I think somebody called them and they came to the rescue and they said that just use the master key and keep the door open till she enters. So I entered. Okay, so I entered that till that point of time also it was fine. I entered, then I went to the lift lobby. I
Mm-hmm.
entered the lift. Now, once I enter the lift, how will I know which button to press because I have low vision?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So thankfully, my caregiver was with me. So I
Mm-hmm.
told her that, this is the floor I want to go to, eighth floor. So I went to the eighth floor, came out of the eighth floor. Now, a very bad experience that I had then was the design of the building. Because once you get out of the elevator,
Mm-hmm.
there's a door. There are door to the bay that
Okay.
needs to be swiped. It's a heavy wooden door.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, the swiping place is at the end of the door, and
Mm-hmm.
my caregiver is obviously pushing my wheelchair. I have to
Mm-hmm.
swipe it, then come, and then by the time I come, the door is closed again because that's automatic again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that, in my opinion, was a design gap in
Mm-hmm.
building.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a bad experience, I would say. But then finally, the security person came to the rescue, and then they kept the door open, helped us. Then
Mm-hmm.
I went inside, and then I went to my desk, and then I saw that okay, with the laptop alone, I will not be able to work because of my low vision. I need a big monitor which can
Mm-hmm.
project it in a larger font.
Mm.
but that was not present. So I just stayed there for about like 2, 3 hours, and I came back. But in that 2, 3 hours also, I had to go down and have my lunch. Now, lunch area again was a problem because again you have to swipe, again you have to choose your menu. Now, how will I choose my menu when I have low vision? I
Mm.
cannot, right? But thankfully, my caregiver was there with me. So
Mm.
she helped me out. But then she's also not very well read or very well versed in English. So she was like reading out the letters to me and telling me, Didi, this is what is written in Hindi because she's from Jharkhand.
Mm.
So she was reading out the letters and telling me. Then I was saying, oh, yeah, this is the one. Then she was, selecting that option as the menu. Then we went and sat, we had food, and then I was like, okay, enough, let's go home. I went back home and I wrote a big mail to the HR, to my HR rep, to my manager, to the security, to the facilities people.
Yeah.
And you won't believe that once that was all done, I was converted into a remote worker, means you work from home.
Okay.
Because the
Yeah.
building is not um, designed in a way that people with disabilities can do it themselves,
And
especially people
what
with
about
mobility.
retrofitting? Was that not possible?
Retrofitting, yes, is possible to some extent, but my case is a very unique case because I don't have one disability. I have like two, three disabilities. I
Mm-hmm.
have locomotive disability, I have vision impairment, and I have a neurological energy issue. So
Okay.
I cannot do things for a long time. So I need breaks in between where I need to lie down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So based on all these conditions, at least the company was accommodative. They said that, okay, no problem. You work from home for as long as you want. We
Okay.
will not have a problem. So they converted me into a remote worker. But
Mm.
my problem here was that why should I be converted into a remote worker? Remote worker means I get to interact with my team members only through Zoom calls, see
Yeah.
them only on a Zoom. Otherwise, so I don't get any physical interaction, right?
Yeah.
And that bond does not build till the
Mm.
time you create those physical interactions.
Mm.
So
So
yes,
the process of reasonable accommodation, it has to be simplified.
correct.
Yeah.
The word itself is reasonable accommodation. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, how do you define it? But
Mm.
for that also, I had a huge debate with the HR who takes care of the reasonable accommodation, the definition of it. For a
Mm.
long time, there was no policy around it.
Mm.
So I was behind them for, I think, 2.5 years. And now we have a proper policy which states very clearly what is meant by reasonable accommodation and what is included in reasonable accommodation.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So that is very necessary.
So, Aritra, what do you think about the leadership? So, how important is leadership for workplace inclusion?
It's absolutely necessary. I mean, if your leadership, your management understands completely and thoroughly what a person with disability goes through when
Mm.
they come to workplace, your life becomes 10, 15 times easier. Anyways, it is difficult, but if they understand what the difficulties are completely, it becomes very easy. So yes, leadership has to take a front role in making these accommodations simpler, easier, and accessible for people with disabilities.
Yeah, yeah. And what if employers want to make the workplace inclusive and accessible? What should be your message to them?
My message to them is definitely when you're designing your workplaces, work with people who have lived experiences. Because
Mm.
that is a short take on whether something will work or will not work.
Yeah.
Just going through some books or just going through some references does not work because each lived experience is different. The
Each
more
are
lived
unique. Yeah.
experiences you deal with, the more your knowledge expands, the more your horizon improves, and the more you do for making your workplace a more accessible workplace for persons with disabilities.
So true, so true. So thank you, Aritra. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, thank you.